Why do I feel like an intruder in my own home? I whispered to myself as I crouched behind the linen closet door, my heart pounding so hard I was sure it would echo off the walls. In my hand was a slim black phone, one I'd never seen before, its screen unlocked and glowing with a dozen unread notifications. I'd found it this morning tucked behind his favorite sweaters, as if he'd slipped it in there himself, hoping I'd never look. The discovery felt like a slap. I'd awoken early, not for my usual yoga class, but to finish a work presentation. On my way to the closet for a fresh set of clothes, I noticed the space between his neatly folded shirts looked odd, as though a shirt had been removed. Curious, I tugged aside the hanger, and there it was, the phone. Cold in my palm, its home screen wallpaper a photo of us at the Grand Canyon, but with a lock screen code I didn't know. My breath caught. There was his work phone, issued by the company, and then his personal phone, the one he used to call and text me. But this secret device screamed betrayal. I swiped to see the messages, conversations with unfamiliar names, late-night chats labeled "Honey," and "Can you pick me up?" My hand shook as I scrolled. Plans for dinner at our place. Photos of a restaurant table set for two. Gifts he'd forgotten to mention. Each text chipped away at the life I thought we shared. My mind raced. Was I overreacting? A second phone could have a million uses. Gaming, secret, blog, who knew? But every clue pointed to one terrifying truth. He kept a hidden life. I swallowed, forcing down a surge of tears and anger. He couldn't know I found it. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed context. I snapped photos of the message threads, timestamps, names, photos for later. Then I tucked the phone carefully back behind the sweaters, restoring the gap so no one would notice. I opened the closet door, stepped into the bedroom, and plastered a calm smile on my face. He strolled in from the bathroom, ruffling his damp hair. "Morning, sleepyhead," he said, planting a kiss on my cheek. I forced a yawn. "Morning." My stomach lurched. He didn't suspect. He was oblivious that I held a secret in my hand. Over breakfast, I watched him sip his coffee, scrolling on his real phone. Every glance at him felt like studying a stranger. The noise of the kitchen, coffee percolating, toast popping up, suddenly seemed unreal, as though I'd woken up inside someone else's life. I told myself to breathe, to keep calm until I had a plan. He left for work with a quick hug. As his car backed out of the driveway, I caught his reflection in the front window, the same man who'd promised me honesty on our wedding day, now slipping away into lies. My throat tightened. I shut the door and leaned against it, blinking back tears. I had options. Confront him now and risk him denying everything, gather more evidence, and keep monitoring until I was sure, or walk away immediately and call it quits. My mind spun with questions. Who was she? How long? What had they said about me? How many nights had he come home pretending all was well? I grabbed my laptop and set it on the kitchen island, opening a blank document. I began listing every odd behavior I'd noticed over the past months. Late-night work emails, excuses about social gatherings, sudden defensiveness when I asked about his day. Each bullet point triggered another memory. The nights he said Wi-Fi cut out, the weekend retreat he claimed was for team building. I drew arrows between the dates of those events and the timestamps on the secret phone's messages I'd captured. A pattern emerged. Meetings that never existed. Dinners that weren't ours. Texts that were never for me. My pulse raced with a cocktail of relief and dread. Relief that I had evidence to back my suspicion, dreaded what it meant for us. I realized I wasn't going to be the helpless wife he'd labeled crazy if I voiced concerns before. I would need this document, these screenshots, to force him to face the truth. I saved the file, titling it Evidence. Then I stared at the clock, 8:30 a.m. His workday had begun. Mine would now revolve around unearthing what else he'd hidden. I closed the closet door behind me, sealing away the phone once more, and took a deep breath. When he returned tonight, I would greet him with a smile. But inside, I held a secret weapon. He might call me paranoid, accuse me of jealousy. He'd done that before, but I knew the reality. I'd walk through fire today, and nothing he said could convince me I was crazy. The days stretched before me, each hour ticking toward his arrival. I poured another cup of coffee, tasted its bitter warmth, and felt the steel resolve settle in my chest. Tonight our marriage would change forever, one way or another. That evening, the sun had dipped low enough that our living room was cast in bruised mauve and steel blue light. I heard the familiar click of the front door and paused mid-stride, the folder labeled Evidence resting heavy in my hand. My heart hammered, but I forced myself to inhale calmly. I'd rehearsed this all day, every question, every fact, every screenshot. He stepped in, briefcase in one hand, phone in the other, giving me that easy grin I used to melt. Hey, you're home early, he said, tossing his keys into the dish. Flight got moved up. I cleared my throat. We need to talk, I said, voice steady. He blinked, the grin faltering. About what? He set his phone down, eyes flicking to the kids' play table scattered with crayons and toy cars. I placed the folder on the couch. This. I opened it to reveal printed screenshots, message, threads from the secret phone, text to Lily, plans for dinners, coded nicknames, even a photo of a wine receipt dated last Tuesday. Can you explain these? He glanced at the first page, jaw tightening. Where did you get that? He asked, voice wary. I folded my arms. Found your second phone in the closet this morning. I slid the messages toward him. It's yours, isn't it? You told me you didn't keep secrets. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking away. It's not what you think. He tapped the folder dismissively. I was using it for work research, privacy reasons. Don't get jealous. I leaned forward. Jealous? I'm not jealous. I'm hurt that you lied, that you've been lying to my face for months. My voice shook. Who is Lily? He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. She's a colleague. We were collaborating on a project. The messages are professional. He sounded practiced, too practiced. I had to keep things confidential. I flipped pages. These aren't project proposals. These are love notes. Can't wait to see you. Tonight. Missing your smile. I hadn't made that up. Does that look professional? He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. Fine. We had an emotional connection, but it never turned physical. He looked at me defiantly. Are you happy now? Crazy wife caught her. Husband, jealous again. My chest burned. Crazy. You're the one who hid a phone. I slid another sheet. Forward, photos from Lily's Snapchat. His reflection in her rearview mirror, him handing her a bouquet of daisies. Explain this. His face blanched. He swallowed. I gave her flowers. They were going through some rough stuff, breakup and all. I thought I was helping. I let out a shaky breath. Helping? You didn't give me flowers when I was down. My lip trembled. You replaced me. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I felt unseen. You're busy with work, the kids, everything. Lily listened. Tears blurred my vision. I'm here, I whispered. I'm always here. You could have told me you felt neglected. I tapped the printouts. Instead, you ran to her. He reached for my hand, and I pulled away. Don't, I said softly. I need space. He clenched his fists. Please, don't walk away. I love you. His voice cracked. I made a mistake. I stood and paced. A mistake? I asked, voice rising. A mistake is forgetting our anniversary. Once. This is betrayal. Secret dinners. Secret phone, secret life. I grabbed my keys. I'm taking the kids for the night. He lunged forward. Sarah! I need time to figure out if I can trust you, I said, tears streaming. I need to know you can be honest. I darted past him, slamming the front door behind me. I didn't go far, just across the street to my friend Mara's house. She met me at the door, eyes wide. What happened? I sank onto her sofa, burdened by grief. I confronted him. He gaslit me, then admitted to emotional cheating. I wiped my cheeks. He says it wasn't physical, but it doesn't matter. He lied. Mara wrapped me in a hug. You did the right thing. She handed me tea. What do you want? I stared into the mug, thinking. I want honesty, I said. I want him to give me full access to everything, his passwords, his accounts. I want transparency. I paused. I don't know if I can forgive him, but I need to know if he'll try. Mara nodded. Set your terms. I closed my eyes. Tomorrow I'll tell him no secrets. I want open phones, shared calendars, couples therapy. If he can't do that, maybe there's no us. The next morning, I drove home alone, the house silent behind me. I took a deep breath and walked in, keys in hand. He hovered by the kitchen table, remorse in his eyes. I held up my hand. I've thought it through. I'm willing to talk, if you agree to my terms. He exhaled, hope flickering. Anything. I unfolded a list. Full transparency, phone access, financial statements, schedule sharing. A commitment to no private accounts, weekly check-ins, and therapy sessions with a counselor I'd selected. If you can't agree to all of these, I'm gone. He read it, tears welling. I agree, he said, voice trembling. I'll do anything. I nodded, heart pounding. Then we'll start there, and you'll prove you mean it. One day at a time. As he took my hand, I felt a fragile hope like the first green shoots of spring after a long winter. Trust wouldn't be rebuilt in a day, but maybe, with honesty and effort, our marriage could grow. Again. And for the first time since finding that phone, I believed that the truth might just set us free. That afternoon, the late sun slanted in through our living room window as I finished writing trust agreement at the top of a fresh notebook. Jake sat beside me on the couch, phone and laptop open, his eyes flicking between screens but never meeting mine. I closed the book and placed it between us. This is our plan, I said softly. Daily check-ins, full phone and computer access, joint calendar, and weekly therapy. We start tomorrow. He nodded, shoulders hunched. I'm ready. We began with small steps. That evening, over takeout sushi, I texted him, "How was your last meeting?" He replied with details about budgets and deadlines. I told him about my day at the marketing firm. Each message felt like laying a brick in a fragile wall we were rebuilding. It wasn't romantic, but it was honest. The next morning at 7 a.m., instead of slipping out to work before the kids woke, he sat with me. Over coffee, sharing his Kyrgyzstan travel itinerary for a business trip. I watched his face as he solicited my input on which language app to download, and I felt a glimmer of the partnership we once had. At 5 p.m., we sat down together in our newly designated transparency corner, a pair of chairs and a small table in the corner of our bedroom. We opened our laptops and password shared, email, banking apps, even his Reddit account. I scrolled through his inbox. He stood over my shoulder as I showed him my side of the screen. We discovered nothing harmful, no hidden chats, no secret subscriptions, just mundane work threads and newsletters. The act of sharing erased some of the shadows. Wednesday evening, we walked into our first couples therapy session. Dr. Floyd, attentive, greeted us. I explained how I found the second phone, how he called me crazy then, agreed to our terms. He watched us without judgment, then guided our conversation. When you found the phone, Sarah, she said gently to me, what did you feel? I closed my eyes. Betrayed, I answered. Alone. Jake, she turned to him. What was your fear in hiding it? He swallowed. I was ashamed. I didn't want you to think I was a bad husband. She nodded. Shame can drive secrets. Trust is rebuilt through vulnerability, not hiding. Over the next months, therapy became our sanctuary. We practiced I statements, I feel. Distant when, we revisited each painful moment in safe ways, and we set goals for affection. A 10-minute cuddle on the couch, a midday call, just because, weekly date nights, no phones. Allowed. We learned to name our emotions instead of acting out. Meanwhile, the phone sat in a drawer, power down, forgotten. I didn't demand its destruction. I trusted that its power lay only in my knowledge, not in its continued existence. Jake never asked to reactivate it. The disappearance of secrets became a habit. One Saturday, we decided to reclaim our weekends. Instead of solo errands, we woke early and joined a cooking class together, our first since before the betrayal. In a sunlit kitchen, we chopped vegetables side by side, laughing as we botched the hollandaise and struggled with pasta dough. Our instructor, amused by our playful bickering, asked why we worked as a team. Jake looked at me and said, "We're practicing trust." I squeezed his hand, and we high-fived over a steaming plate of linguine. In the evenings, we traded book recommendations and snuggled under blankets to read. He surprised me with little notes slipped into my purse. Saw you smile today, thank you. Or lunch. Was amazing, love you. I reciprocated with text messages during the workday, thinking of you. These small gestures felt like threads, weaving our tapestry anew. Months later, I walked into our closet one morning to grab a sweater. My fingers brushed against an envelope tucked behind abandoned shoeboxes, just where I'd once found that second phone. I pulled it out, heart fluttering, but opened it to find a single sheet of paper. His handwriting, my name at the top, describing all the ways he'd recommitted to me. Transparency, therapy, shared calendars, even partner workouts. At the bottom, he'd drawn a small heart. I smiled through tears and placed the letter on my nightstand. That evening, as we lounged on the couch watching old home videos, our wedding, baby's first steps, Jake paused the tape. He turned to me, eyes shining. I want to write you a new letter, he said, slipping off the couch to retrieve a fresh sheet. He sat beside me and wrote, to my Sarah, thank you for your bravery, your honesty, and for giving me a second chance to love you. Right. I promise to never hide again. He handed it to me with a flourish. I folded it gently and tucked it into my blazer pocket. "I promise," I replied, kissing his cheek. We spent that night, and every night since, choosing each other, choosing transparency over secrecy, vulnerability over pride, love over doubt. Our marriage was no longer perfect, but it was real. And real, we had learned, was far more beautiful than any illusion.